Dear child of God, I know you're tired. Tired of wondering if what you're doing matters. Tired of swinging between hope and doubt. Tired of questioning if loving deeply makes you vulnerable or foolish. I see you. And I want you to know right now that feeling this way doesn't make you weak. It makes you human. Your feelings are valid. Your hope is valid. Your longing for love, for connection, for life to work out. It all matters. Before we go any further, I want to say something important. If this video resonates, if it brings clarity or healing to your heart, consider subscribing and hitting that bell so you don't miss the journey we're on together. If you feel called to support this work, a super thanks below is a powerful way to say thank you and help keep this teaching alive. But more than that, your presence here is already enough. In the next 20 minutes, I'm going to walk with you through truths that are often overlooked. We'll explore the way God works quietly, unseen, in the small moments of our lives, especially in relationships, personal growth, and the tender spaces of our hearts. We'll uncover how silence can be God's most powerful tool, how waiting can shape strength, and how love, when offered with dignity, transforms not just others but ourselves. This isn't about generic advice. This is about real life, real feelings, real transformation. By the end of this video, you'll not only understand why patience and faith are revolutionary, they'll feel alive in your spirit. You'll leave with practical ways to navigate uncertainty without losing yourself, to love without demanding, and to see God's fingerprints in the quietest spaces of your life. So stay with me, lean in, take in each word, not just as something to hear, but as something to feel. Because today, I want to show you that God doesn't need noise to move. Silence is where power is born, where courage is cultivated, and where your life, your relationships, your purpose, your heart, can be transformed in ways you've only dreamed of. If this message speaks to you, subscribe now, leave a super thanks, and prepare yourself. What you're about to discover will challenge you, uplift you, and most importantly, remind you that even when no one is watching, God is working, and you are seen, loved, and valued. Number 1. Silence is not emptiness. Silence is God's laboratory. It's in the quiet moments, the unseen hours, where transformation happens. Many of us are trained to measure progress by noise, by action, by visible results, by acknowledgement, but God works differently. He works in the spaces where no one is looking, in the patient unfolding of what is meant to be. Think about the times in your life when you felt unseen, unheard, or overlooked. Maybe you prayed and felt no response. Maybe you loved and nobody noticed. In those moments, it's tempting to think God is absent. But Scripture reminds us that the still voice, the quiet hand, often accomplishes more than 1,000 shouts. Consider Elijah on the mountain waiting for God. The earthquake, the fire, the storm, they were dramatic, visible, terrifying. But God was not in any of them. God was in the whisper that followed. Your life is filled with whispers like that. Opportunities, revelations, healing. They may arrive quietly, in ways that don't announce themselves. And that's where the real test begins. Will you move with faith even when nothing seems to be happening? Will you honor your heart, your values, your dignity in the waiting? Ruth didn't wait for recognition or applause. She worked quietly, faithfully, humbly. That quiet labor set her up for blessing. It wasn't glamorous, but it was essential. If you're struggling with relationships, silence can be your ally. It allows reflection, it allows respect for the other person's timing, and it preserves your integrity. It doesn't mean you're passive or naive. It means you trust the process and God's timing. The same principle applies to personal growth. Healing, maturity, and wisdom rarely announce themselves with fireworks. They emerge when you show up consistently, even without validation, even without immediate reward. Today, hear this. God sees your quiet effort. Your prayers, your tears, your love offered without demand. He sees it all. And that unseen work is building a foundation that no chaos, no rejection, no external pressure can shake. When you learn to honor the silence, to move faithfully within it, you step into a life that is stronger, wiser, and more aligned with God's purpose than anything you could force into visibility. Number 2. Trust is built in the quiet moments, not the dramatic ones, not the moments of applause or attention. True trust is forged in the silence between what you hope for and what actually happens. In relationships, in personal growth, and in your walk with God, it is the unseen consistency that matters most. The work you do in secret, the prayers, the self-reflection, the acts of kindness that go unnoticed, creates a foundation stronger than any external validation ever could. Consider the story of Joseph. Betrayed, sold, falsely accused, forgotten in prison. His life seemed filled with delay and injustice. Yet in those silent, difficult years, God was working, preparing him, shaping him, teaching him patience, humility, and faithfulness. By the time Joseph emerged, he was ready not just for success, but for influence and responsibility that would save many lives. The lesson is clear: your quiet endurance has purpose. Your faithfulness now, when no one is watching, will bear fruit later in ways that your mind cannot yet comprehend. In relationships, this principle is even more vital. Waiting does not mean desperation or passivity. It means holding your dignity, honoring boundaries, and respecting timing, your own and others. Love that is forced is fragile. Love that is offered freely with patience and wisdom is unshakable. The small, unseen choices you make each day, listening without judging, offering support without demanding, setting healthy boundaries, shape the trajectory of your connections far more than grand gestures ever will. The power of trust in silence also applies to your personal journey. Every time you choose to act with integrity instead of cutting corners, to forgive instead of holding resentment, to care for yourself even when life feels uncertain, you are planting seeds that will grow into resilience, confidence, and peace. God honors that discipline, that perseverance, and that faith. Remember this: trust in silence is not inaction. It is deliberate, faithful action without immediate reward. It is choosing to believe that God sees, that He is working, and that your patient steps today will create the life, the love, and the purpose you are longing for tomorrow. Number 3, patience is not passive. It's an active force that shapes your heart, your character, and your destiny. In a world that rewards speed and instant gratification, waiting feels uncomfortable. But God uses the pauses, the quiet spaces, the not yet moments to mold you into someone stronger, wiser, and more compassionate than you could become through haste. Patience in silence is a skill, a spiritual muscle that grows each time you choose faith over frustration, hope over despair. Think about the times you felt life was unfair. A relationship didn't unfold the way you imagined. A career opportunity was delayed. A prayer seemed unanswered. In those moments, patience is not surrender, it's discipline. It's trusting that God's timing is perfect, even when it doesn't match your timeline. Abraham and Sarah waited decades for the promise of Isaac. During that waiting, they faced ridicule, doubt, and personal struggle. And yet, in that prolonged silence, their faith deepened, their reliance on God strengthened, and the promise became more precious because they had learned to endure. In love, patience protects both hearts. It allows you to honor boundaries, respect timing, and grow without forcing outcomes. Trying to accelerate affection or understanding often creates tension, mistrust, and pressure. But when you patiently act with integrity, consistency, and care, love develops naturally. It flourishes in an environment free from coercion, fear, or manipulation. You position yourself honestly, show your character, and let God orchestrate the outcome. Patience also teaches you to value yourself. In the silent waiting, you learn that your worth isn't dependent on someone else's attention, approval, or love. You cultivate self-respect, dignity, and inner peace. These qualities not only attract healthy relationships but also make you resilient in life's inevitable challenges. So, embrace the silence. Let it teach you, shape you, and refine you. Each day you wait faithfully, each moment you choose trust over anxiety, you are investing in a future that aligns with God's vision for your life. Patience in silence is not wasted time. It is the most profound preparation for the blessings, relationships, and purpose that are yet to come. Number 4, Faith in the unseen is the foundation of every miracle. When you cannot see the outcome, when circumstances feel uncertain, faith is the bridge between where you are and where God wants you to be. It is not wishful thinking, and it is not passive hoping. It is a deliberate choice to believe in God's presence, His timing, and His purpose, even when the evidence is not visible. We often measure success by what we can see or touch. We want clear signs, immediate results, and proof that our effort matters. But God frequently works in ways that are invisible, subtle, and patient. The story of Hannah reminds us of this truth. She longed for a child, prayed with her heart wide open, and faced years of waiting. Her faith did not waver in the quiet. She continued to seek God earnestly, pouring her hopes into prayer. And when the time came, her quiet faith was rewarded with Samuel, a blessing that shaped not just her life but the course of a nation. This principle applies to relationships as well. Love cannot be forced, and attention cannot be demanded. When you show up authentically, consistently, and with integrity, God works in silence behind the scenes. He prepares hearts, orchestrates encounters, and cultivates connection in ways that you cannot orchestrate yourself. Trying to rush, manipulate, or control outcomes only distorts what God is doing. Faith also teaches endurance. It reminds you that value is not determined by recognition, and that the process of waiting is not wasted. Every act of kindness, every patient gesture, every honest choice made in silence is seen and honored by God. Your life, your heart, and your relationships are being shaped in ways that will become evident at the right time. So today, choose faith over fear. Choose to trust God's timing even when it doesn't align with your calendar. Walk faithfully in the silence, knowing that the unseen work is far more powerful than what is visible. When you learn to trust the invisible, you are not only aligning with God's plan, you are cultivating a life of integrity, peace, and purpose that no external circumstance can shake. Number 5. The power of humility in silence cannot be overstated. Humility does not mean weakness or passivity. It is the conscious choice to honor the process, to act without demanding recognition, and to position yourself honestly in life and relationships. When we try to force outcomes or assert our worth aggressively, we may gain attention, but we rarely gain lasting respect, trust, or love. Humility, on the other hand, creates space for God to work, for others to respond freely, and for true connections to flourish. Think about Boaz and Ruth. Ruth approached Boaz not with demands, not with fear, but with respect and honesty. She positioned herself clearly but allowed him the freedom to respond. Her humility did not diminish her worth. It amplified it. She demonstrated strength through quiet confidence, choosing dignity over desperation. This is a principle that applies to every area of life: work, family, friendships, and romantic relationships. Your value is inherent. It is not created by how much you push to be seen. Humility also invites guidance. When you acknowledge that you do not have all the answers, that you need wisdom beyond your own understanding, you open yourself to mentorship, counsel, and divine insight. Many of life's most powerful lessons come when we listen rather than assert, when we act faithfully rather than forcefully. God honors humility because it reflects trust in His timing and wisdom. In practice, humility in silence means taking action without the need for applause. It means consistent effort in personal growth, consistent love in relationships, and consistent faith in God's promises, even when no one notices. It means saying, "I will do the right thing. I will act with integrity. I will show love and kindness, even if the world does not reward you immediately." The quiet strength of humility builds character that cannot be shaken by rejection, delay, or disappointment. It ensures that when blessings come, they are not fleeting or fragile. They are grounded in truth, integrity, and enduring faith. Today, choose humility. Trust the process. Act with honesty and dignity. Let God work in the silence. And know that your value, your worth, and your impact are already being recognized, even if it is not yet visible. Number 6. Boundaries are a form of love, both for yourself and for others. Setting limits is not selfish, and it is not a sign of weakness. It is an act of clarity and courage, a way of honoring your value while respecting the freedom of those around you. Without boundaries, love becomes conditional, relationships become draining, and your heart is vulnerable to disappointment. When God works in silence, He often does so in the space created by boundaries, where respect, patience, and integrity intersect. Consider the story of Ruth again. She did not overstep, she did not manipulate, and she did not demand Boaz's attention. She acted with honesty, humility, and respect for both her own dignity and his role as a kinsman redeemer. She understood that rushing, coercing, or forcing connection would not produce authentic love. Boundaries gave her strength. They preserved her identity, her values, and her sense of self-worth. In your own life, boundaries protect the soul. They create the quiet space necessary to hear God's guidance and recognize His work in ways that are subtle and transformative. Boundaries allow patience to thrive because you are no longer chasing validation or forcing outcomes. They allow clarity to emerge, showing you what relationships, opportunities, or commitments align with your purpose and which do not. Boundaries also demonstrate self-respect to others. When you communicate clearly what is acceptable and what is not, you invite honesty, accountability, and genuine connection. Love that is given freely within healthy limits is sustainable, enriching, and life-giving. Love without boundaries often leads to exhaustion, resentment, and misalignment with God's plan. So today, embrace the power of boundaries. Define your limits with love, act within them with confidence, and trust that God is moving in the quiet spaces you create. Boundaries are not walls. They are frameworks for growth, integrity, and authentic connection. In silence, with patience and faith, God honors these choices, preparing your life, your heart, and your relationships for blessings that are aligned, enduring, and transformative. Number 7. Gratitude in silence transforms perspective. When life feels uncertain, when relationships are complicated, or when your heart longs for clarity, gratitude shifts your focus from lack to recognition. It doesn't mean ignoring pain, nor pretending everything is perfect. It means acknowledging the gifts, the lessons, and the subtle ways God is working, even when results are delayed or outcomes are hidden. Gratitude in the quiet is a powerful form of faith, because it chooses trust over despair. Think about Jesus' example. In the Gospels, He often withdrew to quiet places to pray, giving thanks even in the face of overwhelming opposition and uncertainty. He acknowledged the presence of God in silence and positioned Himself with intention before the Father. Gratitude in those moments was not passive. It was active alignment with God's will. This teaches us that when we give thanks, even without visible reward, we position ourselves to receive divine guidance, strength, and blessing. In relationships, gratitude reshapes hearts. Focusing on the character, kindness, and effort of those around you, even subtly, cultivates deeper connection without demanding or controlling. It allows you to see others through God's eyes, not only through expectation or desire. Gratitude fosters patience, humility, and trust, because it reminds you that value exists independently of immediate results or recognition. Gratitude also strengthens your inner life. It reminds you of your own progress, your endurance, and your courage. It turns waiting into reflection, struggle into growth, and silence into a sacred space where God's presence is tangible. Every quiet prayer, every internal acknowledgement, every moment of noticing what is good and true is an act of alignment with God's purpose. So today, practice gratitude in the unseen. Thank God for the steps you've taken, the growth you've achieved, and the love you are capable of giving. Thank Him for the lessons, for patience, and for the silent work unfolding in your life. Gratitude in silence transforms ordinary moments into divine preparation. It empowers you to trust, to wait, and to love boldly, knowing that God is working behind the scenes, orchestrating your life in ways that will ultimately reflect His perfect wisdom, timing, and purpose. You've walked through this journey with me today, exploring the quiet power of God working in the unseen, the strength found in patience, humility, faith, boundaries, and gratitude. Each principle is designed to help you navigate life, love, and personal growth with clarity, dignity, and courage. Remember, the silent moments are not wasted. They are sacred. The choices you make in quiet, the acts of love, faith, and integrity that no one notices, they are building a foundation for blessings, transformation, and purpose far beyond what you can see right now. If this video has touched your heart, given you clarity, or helped you feel stronger in your journey, I encourage you to subscribe to this channel. Hit that bell to stay connected, and if you want to support this teaching and the work we're building here, leave a super thanks below. Every contribution allows us to create more deep, meaningful content that uplifts and transforms lives. But most importantly, your presence here, watching, listening, and applying these truths, is already a gift. As you step into the coming days, carry this with you. God sees you. He notices your efforts, your patience, your integrity, and your love. Even when it feels like nothing is happening, He is working quietly behind the scenes. Your heart, your choices, and your faithfulness are never wasted. Trust the timing, honor your worth, and live boldly in love and truth, even in the silence. So breathe, rest, move forward with courage and hope. Let the small, faithful steps you take today, whether in relationships, personal growth, or inner healing, be a testament to your resilience and to God's unseen work. You are seen, you are loved, and the silence is not empty. It is full of preparation for your breakthroughs, your blessings, and your purpose. Subscribe, stay connected, and remember, God works in silence, and when you embrace it, your life transforms in ways that noise could never accomplish.